Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Troman. This would be a good time for public comment.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Wes Trobman, General Counsel. We have two commenters. One is Mr. Shields, and then our second commenter will come up when we reach item 13 on policy. Mr. Shields, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself and begin. We do have Mr. Shields is here. Okay. Okay. Mr. Shields, we can't hear you. If you want to maybe adjust the volume. Hi, Commissioners. Well,
Okay.
oh, Ms. Shields.
Yes, it's Ms. Jill.
Sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Okay. I appreciate the opportunity today to speak before the committee. And good afternoon, to Chairman Daniel, Commissioners Trevino and Esparza, and the TWC staff. My name is Torna Shields. I currently have a pending appeal from an unemployment claim that was first submitted to TWC on May 12th of last year. My claim was denied, leading to what is now a 9-month process of learning much more about your division that I would have ever otherwise thought I would. In short, I never thought I would ever end up here. In the initiation of this journey, I felt I was in a position of either sinking or swimming. My starting goal was to keep swimming, fearing the sinking part. After all these months of waiting to be given a fair shot, and after getting a vehicle repossessed, a family home in foreclosure, bills that are so far behind that I figured that it's next to impossible to know how to catch up, I'm in a position of realizing just how much weight is in the sinking part. So I requested to speak here today because my former employer, Houston ISD, terminated my employment on April 12th, 2024. Shortly afterwards, I determined that it was in my best interest to bow out. So I submitted a resignation letter with my effective last date being May the 3rd. Although Houston ISD offered for me to continue working until the end of the school year, which was the first week of June, my last day was May the 3rd. I was denied my unemployment claim from the beginning, and namely because when HISD reported and made a response to TWC, they claimed that I left the school district without notice and I gave no reason. There was an important question for them to answer for TWC, which was if the employer was, or if the claimant, was going to be terminated prior to quitting. They left that part blank. After the second part to my unemployment appeal hearing in December, I was giving a response from the hearing officer where she continued to side with the district, furthering the denial of my claim. As a result, I used information within her response to dig a little further, and I found that there is a TWC President's Manual. Within that manual, I found along pages 555 and after that the party initiating the discharge was the one to bear the burden for the discharge. With this in mind, had HISD answered the question that yes, they had plans to terminate my employment, I am left to believe that I would have received an acceptance of my unemployment claim. It has now been over 9 months. I requested an appeal to the commission on December 27th. I have reached out to the commission and I've been told that my case still has not appeared on the docket because the commission is behind on cases. Although I understand the amount of cases you all have to review with each of your meetings, and I respect all that you all do, I can't help but to go back to wonder what would be the case had HISD answered truthfully and fairly from the start, where all of what I am going through right now financially would not be occurring. And so the topic that I submitted and as a result of speaking today was surrounding holding employers responsible and penalizing employers for submitting false information or misleading information to the TWC. Because what has occurred in my situation is a primary example of what could be occurring in a lot of claimants' situations. So I'm speaking out to request that the commission began to try to review cases to determine if employers are holding up to their end of the bargain and submitting correct information to you all so that you all can do what's best and fair for both sides, all sides. Thank you.
All right. On agenda item 3, we have no cases to reconsider. Under agenda item 4, tax liability cases, we have 1 case on docket 8.
Good afternoon. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. That is correct, Chairman Daniel. There's 1 tax liability case on docket 8. The case number is TD-24-052-1124. Commissioner Esparza,
Agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino,
I agree with staff's recommendation.
Chairman Daniel.
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. That concludes the tax liability case on this docket.
All right, we have no fair housing cases on agenda item 5, no child labor cases on agenda item 6. Under agenda item 7, we have no wage claim cases on docket 8 that are pulled for additional discussion. I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 8.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases which I'm dissenting, as reflected in wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. We'll now move to agenda item 8, consideration of unemployment insurance cases. Please proceed when you're ready.
Okay. Case number 3079811, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision is not supportable. Due to misinformation and conditions prevailing during the pandemic, the employer's Rule 16 request should be held timely, and we should find the employer had good cause to miss the first hearing. We should also find the employer's first appeal timely. There is evidence in the record indicating that the employer's protest should be held timely, but the record does not currently indicate whether the employer's account should be protected from chargeback. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's Rule 16 reopening request timely, find that the employer had good cause to miss the first hearing, find the employer's appeal from the initial determination timely, and resubmit the case on the timeliness of protest and chargeback issues.
As I have voted in previous cases involving this employer and the same issues, the decision should be affirmed. The AT decision was mailed to the employer's address of record and was received in a timely manner. The employer filed a late petition to reopen due to staffing issues. Since there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules, the employer's petition to reopen should be dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late petition to reopen, late employer appeal, late protest to the notice of maximum potential chargeback. Employer's account remains charged.
Timely petition to reopen, good cause, timely appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3654108, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant used an unauthorized method of handling a situation with a dog at the employer's workplace. The employer explained that the action the claimant took was not allowed by the employer given the circumstances. The claimant had also received final warning several days prior to the final incident for another issue. As such, the claimant's act of spraying what was described in the AT decision as a toothless old dog in the face constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is correct. The employer discharged the claimant for spraying a dog with a water bottle because the dog was acting aggressively towards her. There was no indication made to the claimant that her actions were not an acceptable practice in responding to an aggressive animal. Since the employer failed to present any direct evidence that her actions were inhumane or that she violated any specific policy, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
No misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
I have no short form.
Case number 3663868, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision is not supportable. Although the claimant filed his payment request for the 2 weeks in question a little late, this was his first time filing for benefits, and he was confused about the filing process, and he indicated that the message notifying him of the filing instructions was sent to his junk mail. Additionally, he only ever requested benefits for these 2 weeks. Given the circumstances, the claimant should be allowed to have the payment request backdated so he can receive the 2 weeks of benefits that he was otherwise eligible for. Reverse the AT, no filing ineligibility from 9/10/23 to 9/23 of 23.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant filed late claim certification because he was confused, did not understand the instructions for filing. This is not considered adequate cause for backdating his payment request. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, filing not eligible September 10th of 23 through September 23rd of 23.
Filing not eligible September 10, 2023 to September 23rd, 2023.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Case number 3668899, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant, a 14-year employee, was discharged for not meeting the employer's performance goals within 2 weeks after returning from FMLA leave. While the claimant might not have met the employer's goals and had received prior write-ups for performance issues in 2023, there was no indication that the claimant had any performance problems during her first 13 years of employment. And the employer's issues with her performance only started after she had filed a complaint about hostile work environment, and the employer did not give the claimant a reasonable opportunity to meet their goals immediately after returning from medical leave. Therefore, the employer did not show that the claimant's performance constituted misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant was fired for failing to meet her goals as set out by the employer. Claimant had been able to meet the employer's expectations in a satisfactory manner in the past. As such, the claimant's failure to meet the employer's goals despite receiving write-ups and a poor performance evaluation constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
No misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
I have your short form dissent.
Case number 3680231, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was performing his job duties as a patrol officer when he encountered an individual smelling of marijuana. Under Texas law, the claimant had probable cause to detain and search this individual. But when he attempted to detain the subject, a physical altercation occurred. The employer then discharged the claimant for this incident. The claimant was a 5-year veteran of the police force and was trying to exercise his duties in a reasonable manner. The claimant had not received any prior warnings regarding his conduct, and the employer did not present any evidence that the claimant's actions were out of the ordinary. Therefore, the employer failed to establish that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Modify the AT, no misconduct, taxed governmental employer, valid claim.
We should affirm the AT decision. First, I agree with the claim was valid. Concerning the job separation, the claimant admitted that he failed to follow proper procedure when he encountered an individual while on patrol. Claimant did not identify himself or communicate his intentions. He simply grabbed the person's bag, initiated physical altercation, and used profanity during the interaction. Furthermore, when the employer questioned the claimant about the incident, the claimant reported that he grabbed the individual's bag because of a weapon, an untrue statement. Finally, the employer's investigation concluded that the claimant violated several of the employer's rules. Thus, because the claimant mismanaged his position of employment, we should affirm the AT decision, valid claim, misconduct, tax governmental employer.
Valid claim, misconduct, taxed governmental employer.
Short form dissent.
Case number 3691342, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant worked for a temporary help firm and his assignment ended. The claimant fulfilled the terms of the employer's failure to maintain contact policy when he spoke to the recruiter the day that his assignment ended. The claimant was not informed of any additional reporting requirements during that conversation and was not offered additional work. Since the claimant spoke to his recruiter the day his assignment ended and was not informed that he was required to take any additional action and was not offered any further work, the claimant was discharged due to lack of work at that time. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant signed the employer's reporting policy, which met the statutory requirements of Section 207045H of the Act. However, the claimant admitted that he failed to report back for reassignment as instructed. Accordingly, the claimant is deemed to have voluntarily left his work without good cause. Affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent.
I have your short forms.
Case number 3816510, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was discharged for failing to follow the employer's policies regarding checking patients. However, the employer failed to provide any documentation or testimony to establish how the claimant's actions violated their policies. The claimant testified that she checked the patients in a proper time intervals despite overseeing 14 adolescent patients by herself, and that when one of the patients was not located during the check, she took steps to find the patient. The employer fired the claimant because the actions of the missing patient without providing any specific evidence as to what claimant should have done to avoid the situation. Therefore, the employer has failed to show that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback. In the alternative, I would agree to rehear this case to further question the claimant regarding the specifics of the employer's policies and whether there were any additional actions that she could have taken to avoid the situation.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant was discharged for failing to carry out her assigned duties after prior warnings. She was responsible for checking on each of the patients every 15 minutes. When one of the patients did not respond, the claimant took no additional actions to locate him and ensure his safety. Instead, the claimant waited until she checked the patient's room 4 times without success before seeking help. Because the claimant had recently received a warning, her failure to properly perform the patient checks constituted misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Rehear.
You will rehear the case. That is the last full case for docket 8 on the UI cases. You should have received the short form dissent list for the rest of the cases.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 8.
I second the motion, except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting, as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Thank you. This brings us to the end of agenda items 1 through 8. We'll take a short recess. Agenda item 9, modification to exceptional items.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerner. For the record, Chris Nelson, Chief Financial Officer. On September 3rd, 2024, the Commission voted to approve TWC's legislative appropriation request, which included capital projects and appropriations for the 2026-2027 biennium. Since then, staff have been made aware that the labor law system replacement that was approved in the 88th legislation is going to need to be extended until April of 2026. To complete this project, TWC is also going to need $868,000 additional dollars in its data center appropriation for 2026, 2027, as well as $1,296,000 to complete that capital project. This morning, I'm seeking approval to formally approve this and submit this to the Legislative Budget Board. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No, sir.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the revisions to the TWC's 2026-2027 exceptional item request priority numbers 13 and 16 as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. The motion carries. So agenda item 10, the UI Trust Fund.
Again, for the record, Chris Nelson, Chief Financial Officer. This morning, I have an update. This is through December 2024. I'm actually already working on the update with the January data. But there is a revision from my last update back in December. So we're starting with the $1.5 billion balance as of October 1st. Of course, that's unchanged. I'm keeping the revenue flat at $2.185 billion at this point in time. But I am making a change to on row 1.07 to the unemployment insurance benefits, increasing that to just over $2.9 billion. With those changes, that would put the trust fund on October 1st at $1.247 billion. This would actually be after we moved 460 million out of the ETI account into the trust fund. At that point, that would leave us approximately $140 million below the floor come October 1st. That's my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
Mr. Nelson, I'm noticing that the projected trust fund balance for 2025 is going to be estimated below the floor. Could you elaborate on maybe the potential impact of this shortfall?
So if we are below the floor come October 1st, 2025, mechanically what would kick in would be the deficit tax. That is one of the statutory rates the commission have the ability to adjust, but if we're below the floor, it would kick in a deficit tax for calendar year 2026.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
None.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is agenda item 11, workforce readiness skills training.
Good morning, good afternoon. Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, I'm Christy Cavanis with the Workforce Development Division. The Employer Engagement and Community Outreach Team work with employers across the state, and we consistently hear how the lack of workforce readiness skills, sometimes called soft skills, is a critical challenge in hiring and the retention of employees. To meet those challenges, we see an opportunity to address employers' needs and support workers with the training skills necessary for them to succeed in the workplace. We believe by providing this training, employees will stay with their employer longer and be better equipped to build technical skills. Staff recommends the Skills Development Fund be used to support a statewide customized workforce readiness skills training pilot program to benefit Texas employers and their workforce. As noted in the discussion paper, Texas State Technical College can provide statewide training under the Skills Development Fund statute. Staff recommends TWC award a $5 million grant to TSTC to create and provide the described workforce readiness training. Happy to answer questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
I've got some comments and one question really. I'm a big fan of TSTC. I think they do great work across the state. We're trying to answer the call for soft skills to as much as we can in the state. And I kind of answered myself just a while ago. This is a pilot program, right? We're earmarking funds so that TSTC can use it. Is the $5 million being held at one location, or are all 11 locations getting a program?
Correct.
And yeah, go ahead.
So now when TSTC participates with Skills Development Fund or Skills for Small Business, it's a statewide effort. So they're considered one entity. They just have multiple diverse locations throughout the state.
Okay. And it's a pilot. When we see this, I know they'll be successful with it, but when we see this as a success, what could be the next step here? Is it an expansion? Are we going to have something for like the rest of like other community colleges? Or does this only work because TSTC is kind of a statewide thing?
I mean, I think we could evaluate it afterwards, provided it does really well. But TSTC is the only statewide that could provide those diverse locations.
Was there any way or consideration to increasing the percentage allowable for soft skills in the proposals to open it up a little bit further?
So 25% is actually, with Skills Development Fund, is an increase from what it was when I first started, which was around 4 years ago. So SDF is a technical training, customized technical training grant.
Okay.
So we try to keep it that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the dedication of $5 million in the Skills Development Grant funding to support Texas State Technical College in the development and implementation of a statewide customized workforce readiness training for Texas employers and their workforce, as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
My second.
It's been moved and seconded. Motion carries. This is agenda item 12, AEL measures, targets, and performance-based criteria.
Good afternoon, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Mahalia Baldini, Workforce Development Division. This afternoon, I'm here to present you with the Adult Education and Literacy Program Year 24-25 Contracted Measures, Targets, Performance-Based Funding Criteria as outlined in your notebook materials. For first issue for consideration are the contracted measures. There are 3 of those: participant enrollments, measurable skills gains, and exit-based outcomes. Your notebook materials further outline the recommended targets for each of these measures. Tables 1 and 2 in your notebook materials reflects the participant enrollment targets for each set of AEL grants, which includes targets reflective of the outlined cost PERS in relation to this year's allocation, as well as any carry forward funds associated for the program year 23-24 balances. Total participants served across all grants is 55,656, which exceeds the LBB target of 53,872 that's outlined for program year 24-25. Table 3 reflects the measurable skills gain target negotiated with the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Career Technical and Adult Education last summer for this program year 24-25. And the last table reflects that staff are recommending that for the program year 24-25, no targets be associated with these contracted exit-based measures due to the lag of the reporting periods in relation to the fact that we just started a brand new grant cycle on July 1st of 2024. The second issue for consideration is the performance-based funding criteria. Texas Labor Code 315.007 requires that the Texas Workforce Commission set performance-based funding criteria related to high school equivalency enrollment and attainment after exiting the AEL program. There are 2 measures: 25% enrollment in high school equivalency or post-secondary education programs, and 70% high school equivalency or post-secondary education achievement of students who exit within the program year. The amount of funds for those who meet the criteria cannot be determined until the data is mature, which will happen in Q1 of program year 25-26, at which time staff will bring forward a recommendation for the commission to consider based off of the funds that are available at that time. This concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the Adult Education and Literacy Program Year 2024-2025 contracted measures and the performance-based funding criteria as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. The motion carries. This is agenda item 13, mid-year review of child care allocations.
Good afternoon, Reagan Miller with the Child Care and Early Learning Division. This afternoon, we're bringing forward mid-year review of the board contract year 2025 child care allocations. This mid-year review provides an opportunity for us to recheck the case mix assumptions that were used to determine the affordable number of children that boards can serve. As you know, as we begin implementing the requirement that all child care services providers become Texas Rising Star certified, the average cost of child care will increase as the providers begin to qualify for the Texas Rising Star enhanced reimbursement rates. Based on our mid-year review, there are 19 boards whose average cost has increased, and we're recommending the distribution of $27,220,126 to allow them to meet their initially approved targets. I do want to note that in the initially published document, there was a typo that said 17 boards. It is 19 boards, and I want to thank OGC for getting that document updated so quickly. Thank you. We're also recommending that you again authorize staff to conduct an end-of-year reconciliation to ensure boards' average cost did not increase to a point that made their BCY 25 target unaffordable, and to distribute funding to boards whose average cost increased and who do not have sufficient funding to meet their approved targets. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Sit tight for just a second. We got one public commenter. We'll get that done. And then I have a question. Some others may as well.
Yes, we have Jerletha McDonald here. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and begin.
Hello, everyone.
Please proceed.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerletha McDonald. I am the founder and CEO of ADFW Family Child Care Network, a national family child care advocate and leader based out of Arlington, Texas, and a former family child care owner myself. I am here to provide testimony regarding the Texas Child Care Scholarship Payment System. Many child care owners and directors in child care centers and family child care homes across Texas have not received their child care scholarship payments in certain areas. As you know, we are already facing a child care crisis in Texas. With 90,000 children currently on the waiting list, child care centers are not operating at capacity, classrooms are empty, and there's a staffing shortage. And now to add to the crisis, child care centers are not being paid. This shortage makes it difficult for parents to go to work, or school, and employees will lose staff because they do not have access to childcare. Meanwhile, childcare centers and family childcare homes are struggling to operate because they're not being properly compensated. On top of that, the Texas Rising Star program requires childcare operations to maintain the highest level of quality, which Texas childcare centers and family childcare homes are committed to and are actively doing. However, operating at a high level of quality requires quality funding. Without proper reimbursement and investment, it becomes nearly impossible for childcare businesses to sustain themselves while maintaining high standards. We are asking the state to fulfill its commitment by ensuring timely, accurate payments so that childcare businesses can continue to provide the high-quality care that children and families in Texas deserve. And also, I would like to say thank you to Texas Workforce for all you do. And I do second what Ms. Miller has been proposing, making sure that childcare workforce boards receive accurate funding for childcare system in the state of Texas. Thank you.
Questions or comments for Ms. Miller?
None here.
No, Chairman.
So the 27 million, is all of that going to additional subsidy for the boards that need it?
Yes.
And this additional subsidy is needed because, as I understand it, I want to make sure I'm correct about this, we have more higher levels of Rising Star, or is it something else that's driving the increase?
That is the primary driver. As we have more child care programs attain their Texas Rising Star certification, they earn an enhanced reimbursement rate for serving the same children. As a result, our average cost goes up for the same number of children that we're serving.
Yeah, because the subsidy rate goes up depending on what tier of Rising Star you're on. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. The commenter was talking about late subsidy payments going to childcare operators. I understand that there was a hiccup in the rollout of our new computing package, but it would appear to me that we have a handle on that, and this was an isolated incident. Is that about where we still are with that particular issue?
It is. We did have some hiccups in the initial launch. We had some delayed processing of payments through the new system, but we have initiated those processes. The boards were 4 days late from the 2-week payment timeline last week. We're catching up this week. We've got 2 additional payments scheduled for this week. And then at the beginning of next week, we have another payment process scheduled.
And the payment is the subsidy that we owe on contracted children. And it goes directly to the provider.
That is correct.
Does the board initiate that, or does TWC initiate that?
It's a 2-step process. The automation system processes the payments, and then the boards act on that process having been completed.
So on the payments that were late, 4 days, you said?
Yes, the second payment out of the new automation system, rather than it launching on the Monday after the close of that 2-week time frame for payment, it launched on Thursday.
Okay. Now, correct, I'm asking because I believe this to be true, and I want to know if I'm correct. So in the past, we've got several things going on with the consolidation caused by this new computing package. One of the things that's being caused is there were boards that were paying out subsidy weekly and not every other week. And the new system will dictate that everybody gets paid every other week. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And whereas we have been reimbursing subsidy in arrears, we'll now make a prospective payment for those subsidies.
Yes, we are about to launch that new process,
Okay.
which is this catch-up period that we're in
And
now.
that's why we're in a catch-up period, is because we're moving from paying out the subsidies after the service had occurred to paying the subsidies prior to the service occurring.
Correct.
I'm assuming the new computing package will keep track of if a student doesn't show up, doesn't use their subsidy, that somehow that'll be accounted for.
We do have attendance tracking in our system.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
None here.
Is there a motion on the redistribution of funds?
Chairman, I move that we approve distribution of $27,220,126 in childcare development funding to support 19 boards in meeting board contract year 2025 performance targets, and authorize staff to conduct a year-end reconciliation as described in the discussion paper and recommended today by staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vote unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is agenda item 14, PPD certifications and recertification.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mr. Serna, Juan Garcia with the Voc Rehab Division. This afternoon, for your consideration, we have one UCRP that's seeking first-time certification and 8 CRPs that are seeking recertification to continue in the PPD program. The new CRP that's seeking first-time certification is Infinity Gardens in Houston, and they are proposing to provide janitorial services. At this point, they have no contracts, obviously. The 8 CRPs that are seeking recertification are as follows: Exceed Resources in El Paso, Envision Dallas Lighthouse for the Blind in Farmers Branch, Goodwill Industries of Lubbock in Lubbock, Goodwill Temp Services in Austin, Rising Star Resource Corporation in Dallas, Travis Association for the Blind in Austin, Tech Spice in Divine, and Saumia in Huntsville. Staff recommends that certification of 1 UCRP seeking first-time certification and 8 CRP seeking recertification as discussed in the discussion paper. With that, I can answer any questions.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the certification and recertification of the following community rehabilitation programs for participation in the Purchasing from People with Disabilities program as recommended today by staff. The certification of Infinity Gardens and the recertification of Exceed Resources, Envision Dallas Lighthouse for the Blind, Goodwill Industries of Lubbock, Goodwill Temporary Services Incorporated, Rising Star Resource Development, Travis Association for the Blind, Tech Spice, and Saumia.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Motion carries. Thank you. This is agenda item 15, board nominees.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Serna. For the record, Patricia Martinez, Workforce Development Division. Today for your consideration, we have workforce board nominations for Workforce Solutions Gulf Coast, Lower Rio Grande Valley, North Texas, Permian Basin, and South Plains. Staff recommends approval on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following: Workforce Solutions Gulf Coast, Lower Rio Grande Valley, North Texas, Permian Basin, and South Plains.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. The motion carries. Thank you. Is there an executive director's report today?
No, sir, not today.
Is there any other order of business come before the commission? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn, and we're adjourned.